Hey everyone, it's Madison, and I'm back this week with yet one more movie review. I do apologize that I did not do this last week, but I did have some major back pain issues that were going on, and I just didn't feel like focusing on writing the blog on my site, nor sitting here and focusing on vlogging the video itself either. So I do apologize that last week was skipped. This was intended for last week, but this week is a little bit better. So here we go. I did want to do this vlog earlier in the week so that it was ready to be posted when I woke up this morning, but I didn't have that opportunity. And so I did have to wait until today, and unfortunately, I had more pressing matters to do before I had free time to do this vlog. So anyway, let's get back on track. This week's movie review is regarding Tom Cruise's version of War of the Worlds. Now, this review is not a comparison between this version and another version, whether it be the radio broadcast, the book, or any other movie version or variation or what have you. This is a standalone review, okay, on just this particular version that Tom Cruise was in and no other. So if you're expecting me to compare one movie versus another versus this versus that, just go ahead and stop now. And my nose itches really bad. So anyway, let's get right to it. So one of the first things that really bothered me about this movie was the tripods themselves, okay? In this version of the movie, the aliens had already visited Earth long ago. We're told this several times throughout the movie that they had already been there. They had planned this, that they had visited Earth before man was even around. So my question is this: if an alien race goes to a planet that they consider inhabitable, the atmosphere is right, the soil, the resources are there, the water, the land, etc., 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 and you plan to like bury your machines of mass destruction beneath the earth, and there's no form of sentient life at all on this planet, because it's pre-man, why would you feel, as an intelligent species, the need to bury these tripods so deeply underground? First of all, okay, if there's no intelligent life on this planet, why do you feel the need to even bury machines of mass destruction? Because obviously there's not a race that you have to fight against later. I mean, unless they had some crystal ball where they could see into the future and say, oh, one day when we return, there's going to be this life form called humans who are going to be massively populated throughout the entire planet, and we're going to have to kill them off. So and the reason why it bothers me that these machines were buried so deeply is because there wasn't a need to. What did we have around? It was like, okay, so we have some mammals and we have a few primates and things like that, but nothing really to justify having to bury them so deeply, because they're really not going to be disturbed. And now my other concern with the tripods being buried is, ironically enough, they most of them seem to be buried in areas where in the future, when we exist finally, they're coming up out of the ground in like major cities and towns. So if you consider the fact of how deep, let's take New York City for example. Tripods are hidden in New York City. They're coming up out of the ground from beneath the subway, okay, and what have you. So when we started the industry boom and began to excavate deep into the ground to build these foundations to support these skyscraper structures, like, I hate to touch on a sensitive topics, especially this week, but let's say, the World Trade Center, for example, the Twin Towers, you really have to go pretty damn deep into the ground to build a foundation structure to support it. So how is it that we, in the future, have all of this machinery and technology to excavate deep enough underground and have never, ever, a single time stumbled upon even so much as one of these alien tripods? Okay, so that right there bothered me, because you see in the scene where ray goes outside because the lightning strikes and whatever and what have you. And there's a crowd of people because there's a hole in the middle of the street and there's a gathering of people around it. And he joins them and they're discussing, is it the subway? Apparently, the subway's underneath there. Now, we already know that the subway itself has to excavate deeply enough to create some support structure and to also to ensure that they are buried deep enough so that when they build it beneath the town, it doesn't disrupt the town and buildings above it, during the building process, as well as during while the subway is being used. It's not going to crumble, houses and buildings and stores down like an earthquake would. So they're looking down and they're discussing, is it the subway? No, it's something else. It's something deeper. When they built this subway, there's a tripod right underneath it. How the fuck did they not find it? How did they overlook that? Makes no logical sense whatsoever. So it just, that part right there really bothers me, that no one at no time during the entirety of human history on the whole entire planet, while we're building and building and building and digging and digging and digging, let's also take archaeologists or whatever they are, who are digging. I think it's like pantheologists when it comes to dinosaurs. I'm not certain, and I don't want to look it up. So who cares? When they're digging deep enough for dinosaur bones, and that's like billions of years ago. Okay, so if we're digging that deep, where are the tripods? Okay, so anyhow, as I said before, I doubt it would be necessary in their mindset to think, let's bury them way, way deep underground, because there's no present threat on the planet when they first originally landed. Um, and also, like I said before, there was no reason to bury destructive machines when there's no life form that is threatening to them. So anyway, let's move along here. Oh, okay. This movie just, I love it, but this movie just really bothers me. This brings up another question. We're then told that the aliens have been keeping an eye on Earth and wanted it so that they could inhabit it for themselves, okay? Well, obviously, thousands of years prior to the current events in the movie, they not only did they already possess the technology to make it here to Earth, why didn't they just stay? If they're looking for a new home, and they stumble upon Earth and they say, oh, look, atmosphere, resources, good soil that we can harvest crops with and animals too, and water, everything's plentiful here. This is great. This is where we want to be. Then why the hell did you leave? If it took you thousands of years to get there, why did you just bury machines and say, okay, we're out. We'll come back thousands of years later. Just stay. And not only that, but if you're going to leave, if you're like, okay, well, we can't afford to stay right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the scientists here and let them start studying, all of the elements in this planet, and we're going to send the majority of us back to let everybody know on our home planet that, hey, we found a new one, pack up, let's go. This also brings up another question. Okay, obviously you're intelligent enough to have created technology to cross the large span of space and time, to have arrived from where you are to our planet. Okay, so obviously you possess some form of high intelligence. I'm going to have to assume that in order for this to work. In order for this whole storyline in this movie to work, if you can, craft these machines, the flight machines and the tripods, you obviously possess some form of extreme intelligence beyond even our capabilities, because we've never even gone so far as putting a man on the moon. Yeah, we have a rover on Mars, but as far as, a human being, the moon is as far as we've gone. So we can't even travel out of our own damn solar system right now. I mean, we can send, satellites, and we can send, the Hubble telescope to take a look, past, light years and light years away from us. But as far as physically going somewhere, human wise, we've never gone further than the moon. These people, or these aliens, have traveled, I don't even know how many light years far away they were to get to our planet, and then they just drop off equipment and go home so that they can return thousands of years later. Why? What's the point? Just send a signal and say, hey, bitches, get your shit and let's go. Come on over. So, obviously, since you're intelligent enough, we already know. I'm going to compare races real quick. They're highly intelligent as far as technology goes. So their scientists are probably far superior than ours. Even we were smart enough to realize before even sending one person to the moon that, you know what, due to the radiation of the sun, and we don't know if there's, what's going on at the moon, what might be present, if there is an atmosphere, there isn't an atmosphere, there might be alien microbes that you will, accidentally bring from there to here that could cause a pandemic, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. How are you going to breathe? How are you going to eat? How are you going to use the bathroom? What, all this other stuff we've taken into consideration with designing the space shuttles, as well as providing protective gear for our crew members so that when they exited from the shuttle, they were protected. These assholes just come to Earth in their little machines with no gear whatsoever. Don't they realize that, they even tell you in the movie at the very end, that the smallest of germs in the atmosphere is what undid them, because of the fact that we have been here, we evolved on this planet, so our immune system has been exposed to these microbes and what have you, and has naturally built up an immune system against them over the course of time. So you would think that if you're going to go to a foreign planet that does have an atmosphere, that you might want to wear protective gear to prevent that very thing from happening. You want to be able to breathe clean air that is not going to be tainted by any potential disease or germ that will kill you. And that's how they died, that in the end. They were not protected, and the littlest of microbes in our atmosphere just killed them off. So anyway, where do I want to go with this? Okay, so if you find a planet capable of sustaining life that you wish to colonize, you do two things. You at least have a good handful of people, aliens, whatever, stay behind to begin the process, and two, you immediately begin a hardcore study of all of the microbes and bacteria, etc., that are going to be harmful to your species, and start to then concoct a viable vaccination to help strengthen the immune system with an antibody, so that way you and your people do not succumb to the foreign and potentially deadly diseases that are present in our air. Okay, we know this already. We don't even leave. For example, when I went to Germany, I live in America. And when I went and got my visa, I was then informed that I also had to go get vaccinated before I could go to Germany, because the air over there is different than the air over here. So there's potential harmful viruses in the air there that my body has never been exposed to, so I don't have a natural immunity to. And even though I did get these vaccines that were required of me, when I got there, I ended up being deathly ill for about a week and almost didn't make it, because something else that I guess, was in the air that maybe they didn't have a vaccine for, or maybe my vaccination didn't work, or I don't know why. I got sick, I almost died, but I pulled through. So we are smart enough to know that we can't even cross continent to continent without protection. So these dumbasses don't even realize they can't go from planet to planet without protection. So anyway, they should have been smart enough to know that. And my phone's beeping. And okay, I'm going to dismiss that. So anyway, they've come back. That how many years it took them to do it, I don't know. It's irrelevant. They come back, and so now we have the scenario where the aliens have returned thousands of years later to complete their mission, inhabit Earth. And as I've already stated, why didn't they just do that back then and just sent, they could have just sent one craft home and said, hey, everybody stay behind and let's back it up, let's go, blah, blah, blah. Um, I don't know why, nor did they indicate in the movie as to why they didn't do that in the first place. So anyway, so they've returned and are hitting the Earth with their lightning strikes, which somehow encapsulates the aliens that are going to operate the tripods. Okay. Now, do you remember the part where Ray's son took off with the car just before all hell broke loose? Then the lightning began, and it's striking in the same areas over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, and you know, in nature, we're always told the old tale that lightning never strikes twice, which sometimes is bullshit. It can, it has. But anyway, we're talking about multiple times in the same area. Okay, so he finally finds his son. His son comes running around the corner, Robbie, and Robbie begins to tell him that yes, he did see the lightning, and that him and some other kid counted it. That the lightning struck 23 times. Now, you see how big the tripods are when they come out of the ground. They're obviously meant, I would say, roughly about four aliens, four human-sized aliens. Probably two in the front piloting, two in the back to, get out and take a look. They're big, but they're not that big. They're not 23 aliens big, okay? So what's happening? Are there like mishaps in the lightning strikes? Are there like, zapping one, a couple down and being like, oh crap, the first four materialized in the earth, the soil, and died instantly because matter, doesn't work out. So we got to re-aim, re-aim that lightning strike and make sure that they materialize in open space so they don't die. 23 times for one tripod? Are you fucking kidding me? No, I don't believe it. That's bullshit. Because even like at the end when, they're dying off and what have you, and they open up the tripod, the front of the tripod, we see that it's not large enough on the inside to carry 23 aliens. Now we do know that there's at least one pilot, and we do know that there's at least maybe one operator, because later on in the movie they're doing other stuff that I'll get to later. And that there's probably about two two researchers or scouts. That's the word I'm looking for, scouts. Because we do see, when Ray and his daughter Rachel are in the basement with that guy, at night, two aliens come out. I think it's two come out and come into the basement, and they're kind of scouting around, looking at stuff, checking things out, seeing if there's anybody I guess they need to kill, or what kind of shit do we have, and they're looking at pictures and playing with the rocking chair and what have you. So I'm going to safely assume there's 4 aliens inhabiting each machine: an operator, a pilot, and 2 scouts. The end. Okay. So anyhow, 23 aliens coming down in a lightning strike per tripod is just, it's not an authentic, or I don't mean authentic, but it's not a plausible idea. So anyway, these lightning strikes occur, and we're pretty much aware of the idea that it emitted a massive EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse. And it ends up rendering all machinery and electronics in the area worthless. Okay, we've got the road is jammed with cars that no longer run, phones are dead, watches don't work, no electricity, nothing works. Okay, so Ray's out looking for his son at this point in time, and his mechanic friend Manny mentions that he's working on a car. And you see the car with the hood up, and how he can't get it to work. He's tried switching this out and not out and not out, and nothing's helping. And Ray just offhandedly says, "Oh, try changing the solenoids," and so Manny does. So now let us take a look at exactly what a solenoid is and what it is for. A solenoid is a coil wound into a tightly packed helix. In psychics, in physics, the term solenoid refers to a long, thin loop of wire, often wrapped around a metallic core, which produces a magnetic field when an electric current is passed through it. Solenoids are important because they can create controlled magnetic fields and can be used as electromagnets. The term solenoid refers specifically to a coil designed to produce a uniform magnetic field in a volume of space where some experiment might be carried out. So, Ray, we see earlier in the movie, he works at the docks. But, he just, change out the solenoid. Well, okay, there's a possibility he knows about cars. There's a possibility he may have been a mechanic before, or, just learned, on his own. But really, you're panicking and you're looking for your son, and you just boom, pop out the correct fucking answer right there, then on the spot. No. But now, I don't know if simply changing out a solenoid in a car that has been rendered worthless from an EMP would actually make it operable again. I'm not a mechanic. I don't know, and I have no idea about anything when it comes to physics. So I don't know if just changing that one component is actually going to make that vehicle run, but later in the movie we find out that it did. So a little further into the movie, Ray and his two children come across a camera woman and her assistant and her van and her equipment inside of it. The TV, the monitors, the camera, etc. They all work fine. So maybe she was lucky enough not to be in an area that was affected by an EMP, but maybe she just simply was able to drive to an area where shit was going down and recorded it. Maybe she just wasn't in that area, but caught wind that something was going on, and then drove there after the EMP struck, and was able to get these recordings. But I doubt it, because the EMP began with these lightning strikes, and she shows you on her TV monitor or camera monitor, whatever, that she's recorded these lightning strikes. So if she's recording these lightning strikes, which is causing the EMP to occur, then why does all her shit work and nobody else's does? So anyway, that part also just made no sense to me. Okay, so let's back up a little bit here and return to Ray's neighborhood and Manny the mechanic. Okay, all hell is broken loose. The tripods are tramping through the town, killing people with their laser beams, which instantly vaporizes them into ash. Ray, Tom Cruise, is running down the street, narrowly missing being hit several times, but all the people behind him are unlucky enough to be, reduced to ash, which ends up splattering all over him, so he's covered with it when he gets back to his house. He makes it back to his apartment, and after a bit of panicking and washing up, decides it's time to collect his children and get the hell out of town. He has his son grabbing things from the fridge and shoving them in a cardboard box, and decides it's time to go. Where does he go? To Manny's shop.